Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Age Better, where each week we take a deep dive into all the ways we can feel better, look better, live better, and age better. I'm your host, Barbara Hannah Grufferman. Imagine this. One day you're at the peak of your physical abilities, training for one of the most prestigious marathons in the whole world. The next, you're waking up in a hospital, your life forever changed by a horrific freak accident. This is not a work of fiction, but the real life story of an extraordinary individual whose journey is a testament to the indomitable human will to overcome. Today, join me as we delve into a tale that starts with a catastrophic moment, but transforms into a narrative of incredible resilience and determination. Our guest today is someone who faced really the unthinkable, a life-altering accident that left him without a right leg, a runner who had to rebuild not just his body, but his entire life. But this story isn't about loss. It's about what happens when someone refuses to be defined by adversity. It's about the journey back to racing, not just to compete, but to conquer. What does it take to reshape a shattered dream into a new, formidable goal? How does one find the strength to turn tragedy into a source of unyielding motivation? We'll explore these questions and more, diving deep into a narrative that will leave you inspired, moved, and maybe even looking at your own challenges in a whole new light. So, pop in your earbuds and join me on this journey of hope, a relentless pursuit of dreams, and an example of sheer grit. Stay tuned.
Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Age Better. I'm your host, Barbara Hannah Grufferman. I have an extraordinary guest with me today, and I'm really excited for you all to hear his story and also how we met. He had a horrific accident, which he will tell you all about very soon. But more importantly, what really struck me most about him when I met him, which I'll tell you about in a second, is how he has this a sense of perseverance and resilience and mission, and nothing seems to stop Tyrone Fulgham. So Tyrone, welcome to Age Better. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
So I think that we really need to start off with, okay, how the heck did you and I even meet to have this conversation? Because we have met. A lot of people who listen to me and for a number of years, they know I go back and forth between New York City and Virginia. And so I was, this was like, I want to say late 2022. And I was on a flight from LaGuardia to Virginia Beach, Norfolk Airport. And I had the great pleasure of sitting next to you, Tyrone. And so, you know, I always like to, at some point, talk to the person next to me if I feel like that person's kind of open to, and not everybody always is.
Right.
And we got to talking. And that's when you told me your story, which we will get to in a minute. But then something else also came up. After you told me your story, I then asked you, well, I hear that you were living in Virginia Beach at one point, not that long ago. What were you doing there? And then you told me where you worked. You told me that you worked at one of the best, actually, assisted living facilities in Virginia Beach. And as it turned out, that's where my mother was living.
Yes.
And not only did you remember her, but she was, as you said, one of your favorites. So, because she really loved to play games and she was just like a really big kid. And I miss her so much. She did pass away in 2021,
Yes.
and which made you incredibly sad. Do you remember this day and our discussion?
I do remember. Your mom was smart, witty, and no nonsense too. But and very, very smart. I love spending time with her.
Yeah. It was one of those things that it was meant to be that we meet. And sure enough, we did. But now I would like to get to your story. All right. So, Tyrone, please tell us. I already know your story. It's incredible. Tell us about the event of that day. What happened?
Well, it was like any other day for me. I was out running. I was training to do a qualifier for the Boston Marathon because that was always my dream. I was running on a road in Auburn doing my regular 8-mile route. And just before I was going to turn around, I crested a hill. And in a split second, a motorcycle came over the hill and slid into me. When it did, it took my leg. And there I was on the ground. It was perilous. I thought I was going to die.
And the driver of the motorcycle, what did he do?
Not much.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of stood there. I was on the ground. I had the capacity to say, hey, call 911, call 911. And he did nothing. Fortunate for me, the accident happened near a golf course. And some golfers nearby saw what happened. They came to me and said, hey, we called 911. What can we do? I said, I need a tourniquet. I said, grab something, anything, wrap it around my leg and pull as tight as you can.
Amazing that you had the wherewithal, given the pain you must have been in. You must have been in shock. Your body must have been in shock. And you still had the wherewithal to kind of give instructions to people on how to maybe help save your life. Incredible.
I was definitely in shock because I didn't feel the pain. But like you said, I was alert enough to realize that I had maybe minutes and something had to be done.
Unbelievable. But the motorcyclist still just stood there and did absolutely nothing to help you.
Absolutely nothing.
Now, that's a story in and of itself that was really covered in great detail several times, primarily in the state of Maine, which is where this happened, because we did say that you were working and living in Virginia Beach, but then you went back to Maine. Why did you return to Maine? Tell us that part of your story from Virginia Beach.
Well, my brother's wife, Deb, is her name, had been diagnosed with cancer. For a short time, was in remission, but it came back and it was terminal. And Deb, before she died, talked to me and said, listen, I need you to come and stay with Stan. My brother has bilateral epilepsy, and he really hasn't taken care of any of the household things. And she said, I really would like you to come back and stay with him. I'd feel so much better. And, when family calls, you can't refuse.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
So you gave up your life in Virginia Beach right before the pandemic, correct?
Correct. And like I said, I love living in Virginia Beach. I wouldn't have probably left for anything else, but like I said, this was family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you went back to take care of family, take care of your brother. So you did mention that you, in this horrific accident, you did lose a leg. You lost your right leg.
That's correct.
And multiple surgeries.
Oh, yes.
And what happened? What were you thinking in the weeks that you were experiencing all of these surgeries and the realization that you had lost your leg? What were you thinking? What emotions did you have?
Those first couple of weeks were horrendous. Waking up in the middle of the night, nightmares, because you relive it, and you feel the bike crashing into you. You wake up in pain. Like I said, I had never felt anything like that before. Just the emotions, the despair, the suffering. Laying in a hospital bed for weeks is not fun. Countless infections, the pain. I thought I could tolerate pain, and this was some of the worst pain I ever felt in my life. And so mentally, it really, really grinds on you. And sometimes you wonder, why am I here? And I grappled with that for the first few weeks.
What happened that you kind of transitioned into a more positive state of mind? Probably number one, you realized that, hey, I'm not going to die. I made it through. Here I am. What is my mission? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I said, hey, if I'm going to live, and I had lost so many people already. And so that factored into, I lost an older brother. I lost my oldest daughter and then my sister-in-law. And so that factored in. I said, listen, I'm here. What right do I have to complain? And that right then and there, I made a plan. I'm going to get up back on my feet and I'm going to be competitive again in some way or another. That I had no doubt in my mind.
So at that point, then you did get a prosthetic leg, and tell us about that. And then you started coming up with all of these goals to get back out there and compete again. Yes? Tell us about that.
Well, the first time you get a prosthetic leg, for anybody who has gotten one, it feels like you're a newborn, not a newborn baby, but a year-old trying to walk again. Mm-hmm. Because it's just like that. You have to learn everything over again. It's like you're standing on stilts. And so the process of that was very, very grueling. It took time, but the blessing of that is once you're standing again, you feel renewed. And once I was standing again, I was talking about, hey, let's get a running blade. Let's do this. Let's do that. I was driving my process crazy because.
What is a run? If I can ask, what is a running blade? Is that something that is used that's separate from the prosthetic leg specifically for running?
Yes, it's a separate attachment. What you do is you unscrew your leg, then you attach the blade.
Got it.
For running.
Okay, like what we've seen people who have running marathons, for example, or other races. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Like I said, I seen it, but I had never experienced it.
Right.
And they make it look easy, and it's not. It is one of the most challenging things you'll ever do, but it's so inspiring and invigorates you. Now, unfortunately for me, I was unable, and I said I attempted to run, but because of the damage in my limb and the damage in my ankle, which was shattered, my left ankle, my leg that survived, my ankle was shattered, I was unable to run. And so I had to transition to something else.
Let's stop right there for a minute. Because when I met you, I believe it had been a year or less than a year since that incident happened. And in fact, you were traveling from Maine that day, and you had to go to New York City, to LaGuardia Airport, to get to Norfolk Airport, which is where we were going. And that's how we had this chance meeting. And at that time, you told me that your goal was to run in the Boston Marathon. So you had not yet kind of realized, I think at that point, that you weren't going to be able to realize that dream, right?
That is correct. Mm-hmm. At that point, I was doing everything I could to run. Yes.
So even like physical therapy and resting the ankle or rebuilding it again, none of that was really going to work in the end. Is that what I'm hearing? That's correct.
Because structurally, the ankle is not what it was. It was put back together with screws and plates, which were supposed to stay in there, but they ended up getting infected. So they had to take them out because suffering osteomyelitis, which can recur in either my limb or my ankle. Like I said, it's not like a person's normal ankle. It's just kind of sculpted together. I can stand on it.
Like you said, it was literally shattered.
Yes.
And then put back together again. That makes complete sense to me. But how did you feel? Because that was your dream, the Boston Marathon, to run it at that time. How did you feel when you finally realized this is not going to happen? Then you went on to another dream, which we'll get to, but this is not going to happen. How did you feel?
I was devastated. Running, to me, is like breathing. That's what running is to me. That's how I felt. If I had any problems, any issues, I would run. And that would take care of it.
Yeah.
And to not be able to run, to I would have avoid seeing races. I used to watch the Boston Marathon, and for the longest time, I would avoid watching it because I deeply wanted to run, and it would just be too emotional.
That's so upsetting. And I have to know, before this accident, had you ever run a marathon?
No, I ran a half marathon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great half marathon. It's up here in Maine. It actually, I don't know if you've ever been to Maine before.
I have.
So Acadia National Park has what they call a carriage trail that one of the former presidents had designed. And part of the marathon runs on that carriage trail. It's a beautiful run. And that was my half marathon. And I felt great. And it was a great experience. And I was ready to move on to a marathon. I mean, I was in the best shape of my life.
Yep. And boy, you sure picked a big one. I mean, New York City, my backyard, New York City is, marathon is really one of the best, iconic, but the Boston Marathon, you have to be really good to get in, as we know. And that's why you were trying to qualify. You have to qualify or go with a charity and the like, but otherwise, yeah, very hard to get in and to run that. And that.
Yeah. Boston has always been the goal.
Yeah. So you do have a new goal now, though.
That is correct.
The Boston Marathon is still a goal. Tell us about that.
Well, like I said, when I found out I couldn't run, I was looking for other ways that I could compete.
Right.
And somebody suggested, hey, why don't you try a hand cycle? And I had heard of a hand cycle before. I remember a kid when I was growing up, he had a hand cycle, but it was a recreational type one. And he said they make competitive ones. So I looked it up and I saw what they looked like. I said, hey, I'm going to try to get one of these. Little did I know that a competitive hand cycle cost $8,000. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I looked up certain charities and grants and found the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and I applied for a grant. Now, I went through all the criteria. I wrote them a letter stating to them what it would mean to me if they would grant me the money to get this hand cycle. And like I said, I told them my story. I told them how much running meant to me, and I told them that my goal was Boston. And the day that that email came and said, we have accepted your request, I'm not a very emotional person, but I cried. I cried.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. It's just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story. So when did this happen? When did you get that email knowing that that this new goal of yours was actually possibly going to become a reality? When did this happen?
I got it in March of, what's it?
2023, last year?
I believe, 2020, March of 2023.
Yeah.
Because the process is, I got it in March 2023. And then I was able to go to the site Top End Sports, where they custom make the hand cycle.
They custom to your size and everything else. And wow, of course, it has to be. It has to be. So you currently have it. I mean, you have it?
Yes, I do. I have it,
okay.
Yes.
Have you started training?
Yes. The funny thing is now, and my brother thought I was crazy. When I first got it, now it takes 6 to 8 weeks to put it together because it's custom made. And so when I got it, I think I got it in late June. There's a race here, a very famous race. John Bonet Samuelson, who I've met before and is a fantastic runner, marathoner.
Absolutely.
Hosts the Beach to Beacon 10K.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I only
Beach
had
to Beacon, and that's in Maine, right?
That is correct. Mm-hmm. So I only had like 6 weeks to prepare.
Okay.
And so I said, I'm going to give it a try. My brother goes, you're crazy. And, I said, never tell me I can't do anything. And so, like I said, I got in the hands. I didn't know the exact specifications for training. I looked up a few things. I got in the hand cycle and I started going.
So you finished the Beach to Beacon 10K in June?
That is correct.
Or July?
In July. That's correct. Yeah, July. End of July. It's funny because I got to the last portion of the race and I didn't know about this, but there's a place they call Little Heartbreak Hill. But it's just
That's funny.
It's right at the end of the race. And instead of a graduate, it's like this big mound. And I didn't have any momentum. And I was like, oh boy, But it took everything I had to get over that hill. But there's no way I was not going to get over that because I was going to finish that race.
So what is your goal now for doing the hand cycle competition in the Boston Marathon? What is your goal? Like, when do you want to do it? I know it's happening actually in April of this year. So it's every April. So next April or April 2026, what are you thinking of?
I'm shooting for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the problem with Maine is there are not a lot of races that have hand cycles in them. So I'm in the process of trying to purchase a used van so I can have something to store the hand cycle in and travel to races. So what I'm doing now is like I'm traveling to races to get some experience, and then I'm trying to find a qualifier because you have to have a qualifier, just like running. You have to have a qualifier even in the hand cycle division.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you'll have to, actually, I think you have a limited amount of time, right? Before you can submit that time, just like if you're running a marathon that will help qualify for Boston, right?
That is correct. It's crazy because you have to submit it before the end of the year for the next year. So it's,
Got it. Before the end of the year. Okay. So you have time. So what kind of things are you doing now? Are you working with a trainer? Did you create your own training program? Did you go online and find something? What are you doing to get ready for other races as well? As you just said, you want to do other races, but specifically for the Boston Marathon.
Well, I did some research online. I also go to the gym, work out my upper body. I have a program that works out my upper body. There's also a simulated cycling machine at the gym that I put in miles on that as well. And I have a training partner. I have a young man named Jeremy who was disabled at a young age. He's been riding in a hand cycle for years. And so we team up when the weather's good and we go off together. So it's good to have somebody to partner with.
Oh, that's amazing. Speaking of help, how did your family and friends in Maine, how did they help you during this really challenging time in your life? Really challenging, life-changing time in your life. How have they been supportive?
Everybody rallied to me when I was in the hospital. Anything I needed, they were there. My son and my daughter made a schedule and a book so people could visit. People from work donated things. What do you call it? My HR coordinator was there the second day I was in the hospital to make sure I got my short-term disability. I mean,
That's
everybody.
Important. Everybody was there.
Even my ex-wife was there to help me on this journey. It's just amazing now pouring the love and support that I have. I couldn't ask for more.
And I've seen that in some of the news, the local news television interviews with you. I've seen some of your friends being interviewed about you and how you just never give up. I mean, you just do not, Tyrone, you just don't give up. And I'm going to actually have links to some of those in the show notes so people can see you in action.
That's great.
Doing even the hand cycle, because there was a story about the Beach to Beacon 10K race that you just referenced too. But, tell us about the event that is held every year. And I know your sister has a lot to do with kind of pulling that together, because I've been in touch with her since I met you. And tell us about this event.
It's called Unbreakable. It's a benefit to assist me with my medical needs. A lot of people don't know with prosthetics, I have what they call a C leg, the letter C, not the actual C, but and the cost of this leg is $50,000. Now, insurance, for whatever strange reason, will only pay for one of these legs in your lifetime. And my sister heard that. And
that's bizarre.
Yeah. My sister heard that and they said, well, it's got to be something we can do. And so she came up with the idea of this benefit. So we teamed up with Funny for Funds, which I had never heard of before, but I watched their instructional video. They have comics, professional comics that come and put on a show. Along with that, you have auction items, music, concessions, and it comes together for a great, great show. And my sister's this is the third year we're doing it. My sister and her staff do an amazing job. And I can't say enough about them and the things that they do. is just incredible. The first year, her goal was 25,000. You know, everybody said, "Oh, you're crazy. You'll never get that." And lo and behold, guess what? She did it.
Amazing.
So with
That's
the Fulgham family,
amazing.
never say never.
Never say never to the whole Fulgham family. And so
That's right.
this is something that has become an annual event, as you said, because we're going to be going into the third one, right? In a couple
Yes.
of weeks, right?
That is correct.
Okay. There will be a link about that as well in the show notes. So for anyone who's interested in learning more about that, and I hope that you all do check that out. So you do have your sights set on the Boston Marathon. What any other goals that you have? What do you want to do? You want to get that van? You want to get that van, travel around? I mean, I know
Yes.
I love going to races all over the place. That,
Yes.
as you know, it brings me a great deal of joy as well, participating. And it is such a godsend and a blessing that you are able to participate in these world famous races
Yes.
in this way. It's just amazing. It's amazing. And it's really just you've just shown such remarkable resilience and determination and a sense of mission that is really motivational, certainly for me. And I know it's for everyone who's listening in right now. But what are some of the goals you have?
Well, like I said, one of my first goals is just get that van because I need that van.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
So I'm hoping and praying, obviously financially I can't, but I'm hoping and praying that we can find some way to do that. But my goal is, like I said, to travel to these different places and participate in these races because that's what I love to do. When you go to these races, you meet different people and for different walks of life. Part of it is that for me. Also, part of it is the competitor in me. Because when you're out there, it's you against yourself. And that's the part of it that I love and I miss. And when I first did the Beach to Beacon, my first race back, I was so emotional when I crossed that line because I forgot how much I love that feeling. It's the greatest high you can have.
Tell me, Tyrone, what are some of the messages that you want to leave with our listeners?
I want to tell anybody out there that if you're suffering, if you have something debilitating happening to you, that you can turn it around. I realized when I was laying on the ground that day and I knew I was going to live, that life is too short to sit on the sidelines. And if there's something that you want to do, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously through yourself, but also through help of family and friends. You can do anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it, it's a powerful feeling. It's the most powerful feeling you can have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a dream, don't let anybody tell you can't do it because you can.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Tyrone. I really appreciate you spending the time with me today. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience?
Well, Barbara, it's great seeing you again. I'm so happy that we met on that plane. And like I said, I miss your mom too. Mm-hmm. She was a wonderful woman. I have so many great memories, especially on trivia days when she shouted out the answer. I'm like, but she knew the answer though.
But she would shout it out. And even though you said, don't do that.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. That's such a great memory. I really appreciate your saying that.
Absolutely.
That's going to be making me laugh and smile for the rest of the day. And I really thank you. Thank you. All right, Tyrone, thank you again. I am so happy for you. I am so happy that you have this new goal. And I know that you will achieve it. There's no doubt in my mind. None. So best of luck to you. And again, everyone, there will be links to all of this in the show notes. Please go and check it out. Learn a little bit more about Tyrone Fulgham. You will be so impressed. He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human. And maybe help him to get to his dream of being in the Boston Marathon. So thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode of Age Better Podcast, please do a few things. First, share it with all your friends and family. Then, subscribe to Age Better wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, so you never miss a single episode. Finally, if you have ideas for topics you want me to cover in a future episode of Age Better, send an email to agebetterpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to me on social media. Until next time, remember this. We can't control getting older, but we can control how we do it. Talk to you soon. Age Better Podcast is a proud member of the Sound Advice Network. Sound Advice, women's voices amplified.